We don't hear this side of the story enough. What good men actually feel about love, loss, and devotion. My guest today says there are still men who cherish feminine women, who love deeply, and who believe that true partnership brings balance and growth. If you've ever wondered whether real love still exists, this conversation is for you. Welcome to the Secret Formula of Femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Monteiro, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Welcome, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole, your host and guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. And I have a guest today who is going to talk about his journey of being a husband, a widower, and how love and loss shaped his understanding of partnership. But this isn't just about his story. I think this is something we all need to understand and hear so that we don't lose hope in love and in partnership and what really men and women can bring to each other. I am so excited to bring Conroy Jr. I'll tell you a little bit more about him, but I always like to start with something to get to know our guests a little bit. So, Conroy, just tell us a little bit about why you believe in love so much, because part of what I want my audience and what I want to debunk is this idea that love doesn't exist, there's no good men, just forget the whole thing. So tell us a little bit about why you are such a believer in love and in marriage.
Well, Dr. Nicole, number one, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to have this conversation and share a little bit of my experience and my journey because I truly believe, to answer your question, I think there's been a lot of noise out there that men are not in a position, or there's not enough of them that believe in love, that respect women and that femininity that they bring. And I think that's so far from the truth, especially for the men that are ready for that serious relationship, getting from the dating to courting and, engagement and marriage stage. There's a lot more men out there that are really ready to take advantage of the opportunity that you get to be taken care of by a woman, right? And when they find that one, what I feel is part of the conversation that is out there is you don't hear it verbally from a man's mouth, but most men would rather show by actions, right? And if you get those actions shown to you and you're not realizing what's happening, that's where I think a lot of the emotion gets lost in translation because you're not tapped into what your man is trying to show you.
You said a word because I think you highlight, like, I hear so many women say, well, he did, I need him to say and communicate. And I'm like, are you reading the room, right? There's so many forms of communication, but you just said it from a male perspective that you all like to show us, and you won't necessarily say, hey, look, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. You want us to also perceive that as well.
Correct. And I think, at least, especially with my experience growing up, everybody said that I was a man of few words, right? I was relatively quiet, but even as a child, I've always just believed in I guess, the thought process, right? Or just the flow of just how I operate. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes we put so much into words, but if they're not followed up by actions, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. So you already can tell Conroy is very deep, and we're going to go deeper. I just want to tell you a little bit about him. Conroy Jr. is a father, coach, mentor, marriage advocate, public speaker, and now podcaster. And you'll tell us a little more about your podcast later. Conroy has found a way to turn his pain of losing his wife to cancer into inspiration and guidance for others. So when I met you and heard your story, I just knew I had to interview you. Tell us about your wife, how you all met and what happened that you lost her.
So Davina and I met back in 2009. And the funniest part about even how we started, it was a like a legit friendship, right? Because at the time, she actually worked at the school I was playing basketball at. And all of my teammates, because she was the director of student activities, so all of my teammates would go hang out in the student lounge area because she always had it very lively, So there was always a DJ playing. There were times that she would bring in whether it's comedians, speakers, or just some type of activity. She really kept the student body involved and wanting to stay on campus because it's in the middle of New York City. Like we were right across the street from
Oh,
Madison Square Garden.
okay.
So, there's always things to do in New York. She did such a good job of keeping everyone in there. So I was just reluctant, especially growing up in the islands. New York is just a bit too much for me.
Yeah, where are you
So
from? Where'd you grow up?
originally grew up in St. Croix in the U.S.
Oh,
Virgin
okay.
Islands.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So I'm accustomed to slow pace, beach living, like that stuff. So New York was overwhelming, right? And there were so many days, especially when school started. As soon as my classes were done, I was on the train heading back to Brooklyn. I didn't want to
Mhm.
stay in Manhattan, right? And a lot of my guys just kept saying, like, Junior, you have to just come down to the student lounge. Like it's popping. And the first time that I went to the student lounge, I realized, what they were talking about
Yeah.
because it was folks playing spades, playing dominoes, eating and just hanging out and having a good time. So I was like, all right, this is cool. And one of my really good close teammates, he's like, let me introduce you to Davina. She's the one that puts everything together. And when I met her, definitely really cool, obviously beautiful. But in my mind,
Mm.
because she worked at the school, I just knew to, just
Like,
give her that respect. Right.
mhm.
So it's all started from there. And one day I didn't have my one afternoon class. So I was about to leave and she just asked me to help her pack up some stuff. And then we started having a conversation. And I went to her office and I looked up on the wall and she had what in the moment I called a collage, but it
Okay.
was her vision board. And she
Oh,
corrected
yes.
me right
Oh,
away.
yes, we know about that. Yeah.
She corrected me right away. And one of the things that I noticed on her vision board, well, there's three things. Number one, there's a lot of beautiful beaches that were
Mhm.
labeled there. So I was like, all right, that caught my eye
Know
being
about
from the
that.
island,
Uh-huh.
right? Then I saw Al Horford, who at the time had just got drafted to the NBA to the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh.
So she had a picture of him, and then there was a picture of Willie Parker, who was the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So me now getting into NFL because I didn't grow up watching football. I didn't know who he was, but I knew Al Horford. So I asked her. I said, who are these guys? Well, who's this guy? I know Al Horford, but why do you have them on your vision board? And she said, one of them is going to be my husband. I said, okay, right. But she was expecting a totally different response. And for me, I was like, all right, so what's your plan on getting into their space?
You were
And she kind of
specific,
looked at
like,
me.
out yeah.
So she kind of looked at me like, wait, what? And we literally had like an hour-long conversation about, just being ready, being prepared, how to just stand out, right? Because these guys are professional athletes that have women, just wanting to be in their space all the time. So
Mhm.
like if you're not in that circle of, entertainment like that, it's probably going to be a challenge to stand out, especially when there's so many in numbers, right? And we got real deep into just the weeds of relationships and wanting to settle down and stuff like that. And after that, like every day for the rest of that week, it was
You
just
were at her
conversations about
office.
her
Uh-huh.
rhythm. Yeah. And it got to the point that even for her, she's like, man, I didn't think I would enjoy these type of conversations with another man that's not trying to holler at me.
So you mean this whole time you're going to her office every day, talking and you're not thinking, "Hey, Davina, okay."
Not at all. And I think it's part of it was there's a 10-year age difference between the two of us, right? So I think that was the main thing. Like, okay, maybe she actually, no, I take that back. I still wasn't thinking that there was a chance in hell. So from there, the friendship was like legit from day one because it got to the point like we enjoyed each other's conversation so much that one random day she's like, you know what? Give me your phone. I'm gonna put my number in your phone because we got to continue this conversation later. And in my mind, I'm like, hold on, what is happening right now? Like,
Uh-huh.
did I just really like get her number? Right. So again, the 23 or 24-year-old me was like kind of giddy, right? Because I think that's something that a lot of women think that doesn't happen for men to get
Ah,
that type of like, those butterflies or
butterflies.
almost, that teenage kind of, hype. But I felt that like, oh wow, it was more along the lines of I get to continue having these great conversations even when I get home from basketball practice. So it got to the point that we were having at least 2 hour long conversations while at school if I didn't have class or after my classes before I left to go to practice. But at night, we'll be on the phone for 2, 3 hours easily. And it was never a dull moment.
Wow.
So from that point, we started to hang out more because even though she worked in the city, she lived in Jersey.
Oh,
And there were
he took the
times that one
train?
So, she took the train in and out of the city. And what was wild is she's going to a whole nother state, but it would take me an hour and a half longer just to get to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So there would be so many times that we would like have to cut a conversation and then wait literally 2 hours before I could get service again to like pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
But we looked forward to that, a lot. And as time progressed and we started spending time and hanging out, again, from my vantage point and hers as well, she used to tell people, "Oh, Junior's gonna help me find my husband."
Okay.
Right.
So how feel when she would say that at that point? Because I'm sure you started feeling feelings
No,
towards her.
even then, I was accepting that, like, okay, this is my role, right? Because just like how we're having this conversation to get a male's perspective, that was
Mm.
her vantage point as well. Like, I really want to hear from another man, like, does any of this stuff make sense?
Okay, yes.
Right. So once we started having those type of conversations, like she just enjoyed my perspective, so much. So fast forward to February. So now this is, oh no, that was 2008. So 2009 Super Bowl, she had a Super Bowl party, right? And she invited, a few of the close men and women basketball players,
Mm.
to her spot in Jersey, and then a couple of her friends as well. So it was a really dope party. We had a great time, great food, just great energy, everything. And I ended up spending the night to help her clean up and, get her apartment back straight. And as everyone left and, I'm doing the dishes and, we're just kind of recapping the game and everything, I literally remember looking at her. I said, you know what? My next girlfriend has to be just like you. Because for me, it was the fact that, again, even though I didn't really know what was happening in the football game, because, that was my first year of starting to even entertain the NFL from a fan perspective, it was just dope to take that step back and look at the perspective of, hey, you know what? She's not even giving a damn about the game. Her whole thing is making sure that everybody's having fun. It was like she put on like a really dope event because that's naturally what she does.
Yes.
And I literally told her, like, my next girlfriend has to do that because I like the energy. I like the fact that you want to have fun and involve other people.
Yeah.
And then for her, she was like, well, it's funny you say that because my next boyfriend has to be like you because, a lot of the men that I have dated, like, they didn't really, I guess, spend that type of quality time with her, especially. And for us to have like really deep conversations, because for her, that was her love language,
Yes.
connecting from
Well,
an
it's a type
intellectual
of,
standpoint.
yeah, on a, yes, yes. Quality
So
time,
when
but very intellectual and like in tune.
that was huge for her.
Yes.
So right after having that exchange, that is when the light bulb moment kind of hit me, like, wait a minute, could this possibly be a thing? And for now, that's Sunday. That Saturday was Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's right, because Super Bowl is like that first
That
whatever Sunday.
yes.
Or
So now our conversations really started to shift from Monday to through Thursday, right? And it was more of like, okay, if I was your girlfriend, what? If I was your boyfriend, then what?
mm,
And every night, like, I would just be going to bed like, man, I really, really like her,
yeah.
like a lot. And again, it wasn't just the physical attraction, right? It was more of like almost like our souls were connecting or had
Mhm.
connected on such a deep level that
Yeah.
there's nothing that I wouldn't do for her, right? And even before I get to asking her to be my girlfriend, there was one event that took place, but it's the actual truth of how much she meant to me as far as taking care of me as a friend,
Mm.
right? The week that President Obama got elected, there was a cold front that hit Brooklyn, well, just hit the Northeast at that particular time. And for those that have lived in New York, you know that, you can't just go turn the thermostat to heat and you get heat,
'Cause it's
right?
those old, like, radiators or whatever.
Radiator.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yep. So that was the situation. So it was freezing in New York for about a week and a half. And I remember one day just going to school, and once my day was over, just went to chop it up with her. And I'm like, man, I can't wait for this cold front to be over. I'm tired of being cold that night. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, we don't have any heat yet. And
Mm.
it like the walls aren't insulated. So we're feeling every bit of the wind that is coming through there. She was like, okay, why don't you just wrap up in your blanket? I was like, I don't have one. I just have
Mhm.
sheets.
Mhm.
She was like, hold up, you don't have a blanket? I was like, nah, but I'm just trying to figure it out because I don't have the extra money to go out and buy one. Because I went to go price a couple. I'm like, yeah, I don't have 80 or $100 to drop on that.
Mm.
She said, hold on. Let me take care of something real quick. So in my mind, I'm thinking maybe she had like a storage closet somewhere, or it was an opportunity for her to like, run to Macy's, which was,
Mm.
2 blocks away, something like that. But then she actually went to finish some work. She came back. She said, do not get on the train until I get back. I was like, what? She was like, I know you have practice soon. Do not head to Brooklyn until I get back. So now I'm sitting in her office, just making sure that everything is going right in the student lounge. But in my mind, I'm sitting there wondering, like, what is she doing and where did she go?
Yeah.
Right? About an hour later, because I think she timed it where she just ran across the street to Penn Station, caught the right train, went back to her apartment, got me a blanket from
Oh
her
my
apartment,
gosh.
and came back. And as soon as she opened her door, I looked at her, and she had a bag. I'm like, what is in there? And as soon as she handed it to me, because it was relatively light, like it wasn't,
Right.
crazy heavy,
Uh-huh.
I knew right then and there, like, she went and got me a blanket. It's like,
Wow.
wait a minute. And the whole time I'm riding the train back home, like, wow, this lady actually cares, right? And you know, I probably thanked her a countless amount of times, for that, because that was a game changer for me, right?
Mhm.
And again, I'm from the islands. Like 70 degrees is freezing to
You're
us
like
back home.
and now you're talking
So
negative something possibly, like,
yes,
yes.
yes, and mind you, I had just left Buffalo, so this cold front was reminding
Yeah.
me of Buffalo. But again, in Buffalo, I had a blanket. It
Yes.
just it just got, I don't know what happened to that old blanket anyway, but at the time, again, not having one, you appreciate the things that you don't have, right? So when that moment happened, I think that's when I started really paying attention to her actions, right?
Mhm.
And I realized that there's a lot of things that she did that showed her ounce of care all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, being in a position to make her aware of how grateful I was for anything that she did for me, um, it was it was something that stood out to her just to hear thank you.
Mm.
Because, for me, when I say thank you to somebody, I like to add the why behind it.
So you're not just
Because
saying it like it's
Yeah, because I
meaningless.
think sometimes gratitude gets lost in translation because somebody does something for you, say thank you, and you move on,
Mhm.
right? And for the person receiving the thank you, after a while, it just starts to feel like, okay, they're just saying it just to say it, but, does it really mean anything?
Yeah.
So for me, I had to add my whys behind it. So during that same week now, after the Super Bowl leading up to Valentine's Day, telling her how much that blanket meant to me. Because mind you, this is now months after the fact. I had to sit down and explain to her, like, people don't do these type of thoughtful things to me often,
Yeah.
right? So I want you to understand, like, this means more to me than you can even imagine because you didn't have to do that, right? You could have had empathy for me, but to
Oh,
literally take
poor
time out of
Conroy.
your day.
Yeah. But not take action on it. Yes.
Correct. And now we get to Valentine's Day.
All right, let's hold on.
We
Let me pause to so everybody can understand the timeline. So you're at school, you're playing basketball. She's there. Her job is something that has to do with the students. She's a little bit older. She's real beautiful. You guys, you're talking, but you're never thinking it's going to go somewhere. So that
correct.
is in like when that day when you went to her office and talked the first time. That was like fall 2008 or what? When was
Yeah,
that?
so that was actually around this time because it was right before our basketball season started. So yeah, you're probably
Okay.
talking mid-October of 2008.
Okay. And then you guys are still talking and everything, but it's that Super Bowl party where it kind of that was the first spark. That's February
Yep.
2009 or whenever it is, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then
Hmm.
she's like, now you guys are that is so interesting. My next boyfriend has to be like you. My next girlfriend has to be like you. And you guys still draw it out a little bit until
Yes.
Valentine's Day.
Yep.
And
And
in between
even
that, she does all of these amazing things for you just to show you how kind she is and how much she values you.
Yes, and to add to a little bit of the timeline, um, December, right after Christmas, I actually had a tournament back in Buffalo at the school I had just left,
Wow.
and it was our winter break as well. So because she had a really good relationship with my head coach, who is actually family to me,
Hmm.
and she went to him. She's like, "Wait a minute, you just came from Buffalo, right?" I was like, "Yeah." So you know all the hangout spots? I said, "Of course." Like, I live downtown Buffalo.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm gonna ask the coach if I can come." So I was like,
Cool.
"Okay, do your thing." And she went upstairs, had a quick conversation. He said, "Heck yes, you can come," because also, she really took care of the basketball players even before my year. So they
Okay.
already had synergy of working together,
Uh-huh.
you know? So she goes on the trip. So this is what did it for her. Mind you, mine was the blanket and Super Bowl.
Okay.
Our trip to Buffalo is what did it for her. So first thing, being one of the handful of folks who actually could go out to the clubs and the bars, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna call a couple of my friends. to just meet us so that way you could meet some of my, really, really close friends that I've met, up in Buffalo. But I'll make sure you have a good time. Right.
Okay.
So we go to the first spot, and it was so packed. Like there was just people everywhere from outside to inside. And I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing, but she was. And there were so many times that there was folks that were absolutely loaded drunk already. Mind you, this is like 9, 10 o'clock.
Oh
Like, and
God.
these folks are just like
Blast.
falling down and, spilling drinks. And there was a few times that I kind of pulled her out of harm's way or just guided her, making sure I held her hand because again, Buffalo is Buffalo. So there was
Yeah.
snow all over the place already. And I was just doing what I thought needed to be done. But for her, it meant so much more
Yeah.
to literally be taken care of. And again, we weren't in the space mentally, physically, or emotionally like we were trying to win over the
So
other
there was
person.
no like motive. It was like you guys got to see who you each other really were. It wasn't just for a time being to impress somebody.
Yes. And I think it actually just hit me for the sake of this conversation. I think some of those behaviors gets lost in translation because when we are attracted to somebody and we're you know, going for the kill in a sense of, wanting to pursue them, for that boyfriend, girlfriend type of title, we lose the opportunity to just gain that unfiltered version of ourselves that most of the time you're getting that person's representative.
Yes, that representative.
They
And
show up, right?
yes.
And you're not being your true natural self. So for us, we have been unfiltered since the day that we've
Mm,
met.
yes.
So there was no ulterior motives. There were none of that happening between the two of us. It was just, this is how I show up and this is what you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
Right. And during those, what, maybe I think 4 days in total that we were between being on the bus, going, me playing in the tournament, us going out 2 nights that we were there, when she came back, and actually when we even got together and she started to recollect those 2 nights of just me showing up, being protective of her, but not acting like a boyfriend or
Yeah.
acting like somebody that, had some type of motive
You
behind
have
it,
an
right?
end in mind. Yeah.
Yes. And the second thing about that trip that stood out to her, which I still laugh at to this day, we go out, we come back, it's like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Cause in my mind, I'm like, bro, you got a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, time to shut this down and, go get some sleep so that way you're fresh for the next day. She texted me and was like, hey, are you still up? And I'm like, of course. She said, come to my room. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, what? Like, what is happening here? And because now it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So now I'm like, oh boy, like I don't wanna send any wrong signals.
Mhm.
Right. So I get to the room, and she's already like, dressed down, hair wrapped up, and everything. And I'm like, oh boy, like I don't know what to do. Like,
Mm.
and I was uncomfortable for a little minute because again, I did not want her to think like I was going to try anything.
That's how much respect you have for
Indeed.
like, I
Indeed.
need people to hear that because it's the opposite of the love bombing that happens sometimes. But you were like, no, I'm not trying to do that.
It was so bad for about 20 minutes. I like she was sitting up in the bed, against the wall, had her pillows in front of her or whatnot. And I was standing up at the foot of the bed. I didn't even want to touch the bed. And like mid conversation, she was like, Junior, what the hell is wrong with you? I was like, what? What did I do? So like now I'm thinking I said
Yeah.
something. She said, you've been standing there for 20 minutes. Sit your butt on the bed. Like I don't bite. And at that moment, I said, you know what? Let me be upfront. I said, listen, because of the time of night, I don't want you to think that I'm going to attempt to try anything with you.
Uh-huh.
So, out of respect, I would prefer not to. And she just looked at me like, dude, we are like, nobody has ever been invited to my room before, but I'm not thinking about that. And I know that, you're a man of morals and respect. So I know that you're not going to try anything. So just sit down. I still sat at the most
You're like,
cornered
let me
part
just
of the
1 inch. Only sit on 1 inch.
it literally took me a while to like finally etch on to and inch my way onto the bed to be comfortable. Like, because at first I just started leaning at the bottom of the bed, and then she kept like insisting, sit on the bed. Like, it is okay. Like, I'm not thinking nothing, and I know now that you're not thinking of, just sit on the bed.
Yeah.
And for her, hindsight being 2020, as she, recollected down the road, she was like, that's the most respectful thing that anybody has ever done around me.
Wow.
And
She knew
that
even
was
to invite
intentional.
you, right? She kind of knew in her core that you were that kind of person.
And she could trust the fact that, number one, I wasn't in the space of kind of being that immature 20 something
Yeah.
and letting everybody know that I got her phone number. I went to her apartment in Jersey a couple of
Yeah.
times because I think I didn't start going to Jersey until January.
Of
Yeah, of
2000.
2009.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, January 2009 was the first time. I think I went the weekend before her birthday, because her birthday is same as Martin Luther King, January 15th.
Oh, uh-huh.
So I remember going, yes, I went the weekend after New Year's, and then I had a game in Jersey on her birthday, but she had made plans with her friends. So she was like, we can hang out the following weekend. So from that following weekend, whatever the date is, till she passed away, we have never spent a moment without one another.
You're kidding. So the following weekend after her birthday celebration, because you had the game and she already had plans and you guys said we're gonna hang out. From then, okay, this is so romantic. So when did you all get married? Like, how did that all transpire?
So actually, I have to tell you how I asked her to be my girlfriend first.
Okay.
So we our favorite restaurant to do date nights, especially because we were just trying to keep a tight budget.
Mhm.
We loved going to TGI Fridays.
Okay, yes. And back
So
then, TGI Fridays in Manhattan, was it around Times Square or
no, we
no?
actually chose to go to the one in Jersey
Oh, okay.
because we knew that whole weekend how everything was going to be. So she was
Yes.
like, we don't have to be, in the streets like that. Like, we
Yeah.
could just go low key. There's one not too we can go out there in Jersey. So I said, all right, cool. So we're there, and mind you, we went the day before Valentine's Day. So we went that Friday, the 13th, and we're sitting and we're both people watching.
Mm.
And this is how I know we were connected, because we would see the same thing, not have to say a word, and just start
Start
dying
laughing.
laughing.
That's
And
how me and my
there was
husband are. It's like inside jokes.
all night long. And so now we get back to our apartment and we're just analyzing and just cracking up on all the things that we saw at the same time, right? But even while eating dinner, one thing that we established right there is, number one, I'm not a big fan. I've never been a fan of Valentine's Day, even as a
Mm.
child, because in my mind, I'm like, why should it take one day out of 365 to show
Show
somebody
somebody.
you love them?
Uh-huh.
That never made sense to me,
Mhm.
right? You should be able to do that on a daily basis. And she said the same thing. So we had that conversation over dinner. So I said, all right, I could definitely see this turning into something, right?
Yeah.
So with having the conversation over dinner about how Valentine's Day just shouldn't be that one day, that you celebrate the person that you love. We got to that point of having that understanding and being in agreement. So right after that, it just became a very fluid opportunity to, discuss so many things, after that. And now we get to that Saturday, which was Valentine's Day. We stayed in, we watched movies. I ended up cooking for her, and we just hung out and we had a great time. We reminisced on conversations that we were having throughout the week and the night before. And when I was helping her just like clean up and stuff, and her vacuum cleaner was acting up.
Mm.
But then when I tried to troubleshoot it, I said, hey, you just need a new bag. Your bag just exploded in here. So before I jump on the train tomorrow, let's just go to Walmart and fix it. Because at this point, it was late and we neither one of us felt like going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I go to Walmart, and the entire time, the anxiety in my chest was at an all-time high because I said, you know
What?
what?
You knew you had to ask her, huh?
I knew I had to ask because there wasn't a more perfect like epiphany
Mhm.
than the week that we just had. Right. I also knew that this is somebody that I want to take very seriously,
Mm.
even though I did not know what my future held, because this is mid season for me.
Yeah.
And I started to get interest from different schools that were nowhere near New York City or Jersey. And I'm like, man, I really just want to get to know her more. I really want to hang out. Like, I really want her to be my girl. So the entire time, and even telling you that feeling is
You still
coming
have
back.
that
Yes,
butterflies.
because oh man, I felt I was having a mini heart attack walking through Walmart. Because I knew that time was of the essence. Because right after we left there, I just needed to install the bag to our vacuum cleaner, and then she was taking me to the train. So we get to the vacuum cleaner aisle, and I just said, "All right, bro, rip the band-aid off." And I just abruptly turned around to her, and I said, I don't know any other time than to ask you right now. She was like, "Ask me what?" Because she wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Where are you going with this? Just tell me." Because like there was a lot of hesitation, and I was
You're like,
fumbling and stumbling my words. And I said, the amount of time that we have spent with one another over these last couple months, but especially this past week, has meant the world to me, and you mean the world to me. So at this point, like, I don't want to start thinking about anybody else being my girlfriend other than you.
yeah. Wow.
And she just smiled. She was like, and she's a jokester. Like, if she really likes you, she doesn't take anything serious, right?
Uh-huh.
So she looked at me. She said, Junior, you waited till we got in the vacuum aisle at Walmart to ask me to be your girlfriend. And in the moment, I'm like, damn, that's not romantic at all. Like,
Mhm.
you're right. But then she's just like, I'm playing. Like, yes, yes, definitely. Because I've been feeling the same way. So we might as just see where this goes
Uh-huh.
and hope for the best. Right. Because she was like, I'm going to be honest with you, because of our age difference,
Mm.
because you're a good man, right? You play basketball, like you're who everybody is going to be chasing, especially if
Mm.
you go to a different school. Like, I'm not doing the long distance things with a basketball player. Like, I'm not
Mm.
dumb,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So we had that conversation, right? And then now I'm like on cloud nine. So also at the same time, not having everyone in our business was important to both of us. So
Yes.
no one knew that we were an item for a while,
Yeah.
right? So fast forwarding, the season's over. Because this is how we knew that we were meant to be. Season's over. The main three schools that are scheduling me to come do visits, they were there was one in Tennessee, one in North Carolina, one in South Carolina,
All far from New
and
York.
all far away from the Northeast. So like I was having reservations about all of those because I'm like, at this point, I'm in the space of choosing love over basketball.
Mm. How much time would you
And
have had at these schools? Like, you would have to go for how
at least bare minimum 2 years.
okay, okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, how can I show and prove to her that I am not trying to entertain anybody other than her moving forward?
Yeah.
Right. So that was my mindset. So there was one random day I go to my coach's office. So we're just talking, and then I hear a bunch of voices, and I knew it was some of the men and women from the both teams
The team.
coming to
Okay.
his office. So I said, something just told me go sit behind him because he had like a cabinet area behind his
Mm-hmm.
desk. So I said, all right. I followed that inspiration. I sat behind him, and because I have great eyesight, I was able to look at his computer screen, and I saw my name in the subject of an email. So mind you, it's like 20 people in his office. And I tap him. I said, yo, what's that?
Uh-huh.
He was like, what's what? I said, I see my name in an email. What is that? So he clicked on it, and it was a coach that had interest in me, and it wasn't one of those three schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking, and I said, come on, scroll, man. Like, I want
He
to see
hadn't
the
read it
name of
yet
the
either.
school. Yeah, yeah. He didn't read it. It was
Uh-huh.
just sitting there. And mind you, it was the last email before it would have like been out of sight. So
Oh
I
yeah.
saw it
On the
right
first.
before
Uh-huh.
it was about to be out of sight. And I see Bloomfield College. I said, where's Bloomfield College? He was like, I have no idea.
Is
And the
that in New
address, what
Jersey? Uh,
it is in New Jersey. So I look, and he was just like, I think it's a school around here. It's either in New York or New Jersey.
mhm.
So I say, what? I ran downstairs. I said, hey, quick question for you. You ever heard of Bloomfield College? She said, yeah. Why? I said, where is it? Why are you asking? Lady, answer the question. Where in Bloomfield College? She was like, it's near me. But why are you asking about Bloom? I said, it's near you in Jersey? She said, yes, but why are you acting so weird? I darted out of her office,
This
went
is
back
like a
upstairs.
movie.
It is. And I go to him. I said, what does he need me to do? He said, there's a showcase on Sunday in Jersey, and he's asking if y'all are going to be there. I said, reply to him right now and tell him I'm going to show up. Because it was me and one of my other teammates. He asked about both of us. Let him know that I will be there. I run back downstairs to her. And now she was waiting for me to come back. She was like, why are you acting so weird? I said, the coach from Bloomfield College wants me to play in a showcase on Sunday. So I guess I'm coming to Jersey this weekend because I am not missing that.
Yes.
She said, get out of here. Stop playing with me. I said, does it look like I'm playing right now? Like, I am dead serious. Like, this is in my mind, I'm like, this is exactly what I've been hoping for.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That Sunday came. I was scanning the whole entire gym because there was multiple games going on, but I'm just trying to look for
The person
a
who would be
light skinned bald man that
okay.
has something that says BC on it.
Uh,
And the third game that I played in, he ended up standing right under one of the baskets. And the moment I saw him, it was just like
jumped,
I
right? You had that
elevated.
moment.
I made sure. I said in my mind, I'm like, all right, I don't know exactly what he needs on his team, but because I am a defensive guy,
Mm.
I am going to make sure that there's nothing happening with anybody that is in front of me, right? I balled out, definitely stood out amongst everyone in that game because I remember there was a couple other coaches that were trying to get my attention, but
Mm.
the moment that game was over, I went directly to him. And he said, you're Conroy, right? I said, yes, sir. I said, how you doing, coach? Nice to meet you. He said, listen, I saw you play earlier, but what you just did is exactly what I need, at my
Wow.
school. And I said, before you say anything else, what do I need to do to make this happen? He
So you
said,
weren't leaving it
"Nothing."
to coach or recruiter or anybody. You were doing all because of Davina. Ladies,
All
look at
because
the
of Davina.
motivation you can give a man.
And she was so nervous, right?
She was
She
there.
didn't even watch. She didn't even watch my game. She went and sat in the car because she also was kind of scanning the crowd. And once she saw him, like the butterflies of like, oh, I hope he doesn't mess this up. So
Yeah.
she had to go outside. So mind you, I still had two other games to play in. But that man was the reason that I went there. So the moment I spoke to him, we shook hands. He said, give me your number and your email and we'll be in touch. I went and packed up my stuff.
So
Everybody
you
was
didn't
like,
even play the other games?
I packed up my stuff. Everybody, yo, Junior, where you going? I'm out. I got plans. They're like, but we need you for the. Y'all can figure it out. There's more people in here. Like, I don't care. I walked outside. She's like, what are you doing out here? I said, my job is done. She's like, what does that mean? I said, I saw the coach from Bloomfield and he's ready to move forward with me coming over there. So I just have to wait for his phone call and his email. And she looked at me like, stop playing. I said, does it look like I'm playing, lady?
This is
Like, let's go. I have
yeah, I
I have
love
nothing else to do. I don't care about any other school. I don't care if there's a Division 1 school, Division 3 school. It could have been Coach K from Duke trying to get my attention.
yeah.
Because your school is not in Jersey, I am not entertaining it.
Was she
Right?
surprised about that? Like your level
Oh,
of focus and on where you were going to be?
she thought at the time, she thought that actually you used the terminology. She
Mhm.
thought it was a little bit of love bombing going on.
Okay.
They were because she didn't think that I was that ready to get that serious.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because her whole thing, especially because of the age difference, she's like, the fact that you're already thinking about marriage, like, are you sure there aren't anything that you have to or things that you have to get out of your system?
Mm.
I said, I didn't have many of the things that many men have on their wish list of things that they want to accomplish. However, I've been to so many different cities and states, and I've had my fair share of fun with all of the teammates I've had over the last 3, 4 years.
Mhm.
I don't need anything
It's not
else,
anything that
especially
you feel like, "Oh, I'm missing out on something."
I'm not missing anything, especially because even hanging out with her and being around her, we still had a whole bunch of fun just between the two of us with same said teammates and some of the women from the girls team as well. So I said, listen, I'm good right where I'm at because what's more important to me is not missing out on a woman like you. Because I think there's so many men that always have that one that got away. I don't want that
Mhm.
to be you
Mhm. Now let me
because I will
ask
kick
you.
myself.
Yes, but tell me about your background because my theory is like you have to come, you either have to have done a lot of healing or come from a background where love and stability and connection were either modeled or valued. So, how did you grow up that you had this level of respect for love?
So mm, I think it had to have started from childhood of growing up in church, and I'm somebody that pays attention like to every detail.
Mm.
And my mom kept saying since I was a young child, like she kept saying like you have definitely been on earth before because you're so wise beyond your years and you
Mm.
think differently, right? And I'll go back to when I was 5 years old, being in Sunday school. I think the children's Sunday school teacher had got sick and left early. So there was a few people that had to leave because their younger children wouldn't been able to sit through adult Sunday school,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But I was the good kid that could just sit there and not make any noise. And that particular Sunday, I'll never forget this day. They were just starting the Old Testament, and in Genesis where it talked about how God wanted Adam to cling to Eve and making that broad statement that every man should cling to his wife and forget his parents. And for me, from a 5-year old perspective, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to find a woman that I have to make more important than my mom. Like,
Mm.
it. from a 5-year-old perspective, I was like, who am I going to love more than my mom and being a mama's boy?
Yeah.
Right. However, as time progressed, I'm like, okay, but if it's in the Bible, that means we're supposed to do it. And I
Like,
locked
I
in
gotta
on
do
that
uh-huh.
from a very young age. Then, even just when I looked at the folks that were influential around me, everybody's married. My parents married for 40 years now this year.
Wow.
Um, I went to my favorite uncle's wedding, and he had been married before, but seeing them, my favorite aunt married for, I think before her and her husband passed away, they were easily probably like 50 years in the game.
So it was a
Um,
way of life. There was no that wasn't abnormal. That was a way of life that you just expected to graduate
I knew from a young
Yes.
age, and then even having conversation with my mom as a teenager, I used to tell her all the time, like, I know I'm going to get married young. And she was like, boy, why are you thinking about marriage? You only 13 years old. Like, you don't need to be thinking about girls right now. Go worry about your books. But deep down inside, I knew that even when it got to the point of even dating, I knew I wasn't going to be the type to have a whole bunch of girlfriends, when
Yeah.
which I didn't. Because by
Okay.
the time Davina became my girlfriend, she was all time my fourth girlfriend ever.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't
Right.
like you yeah.
Yeah.
Did
So I
she come
didn't need that.
did she come from a similar background? Like when you all would talk, did she expect marriage and
No, she wanted it
uh-huh.
because she wanted to be different than her upbringing because her parents weren't married
Yeah.
by the time she was born. Even though her father did remarry, her mom did remarry as well, get married, I should say. Her mom did get married at some point, but she divorced and has been single for a long time. So
Yeah.
Davina also knew, like, I did not want to I didn't want to keep that cycle going,
Yeah.
right? Because it was the polar opposite for her. She didn't have as many examples
Mhm.
of healthy long-term relationships. So she knew that she wanted that for herself, right? She knew that, she didn't want to be a baby mama to anybody,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I didn't want to be a baby daddy either,
Uh-huh. Producing
right?
baby moms and yeah.
Correct. So that wasn't my energy either. So when we even had those type of conversations, she's like, "Are you sure? Like, you really, really want this?" I said, "I probably want it more than you do." And she agreed. She was like, "Yeah, you talk about marriage on a different level than even for me." And she used to express like that made her nervous,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Because she didn't think, again, mainly because of the age, she didn't think
That
I
you could
was
be that
really ready
serious. Uh-huh. Or ready. Okay. Yes. But I think that
until
that
like
is until what?
no, until we moved in together.
Uh-huh.
That's when it started to resonate for her. Like, oh nah, like you are really about this life. Like, but when I say we were inseparable, I promise you, you
Yeah.
didn't see her
Yeah.
without seeing me. And then even when we had our son, you didn't see me without seeing the two of them. We
Yeah.
did everything together, like
That is
everything.
so I just
So,
love you don't hear stories like this a lot because not because they don't exist, but people don't share them a lot. And you said something so powerful because in my experience just working with people, you either have to come from an example of stable relationships or you have to be very conscious about if you didn't come from that, wanting to create it, but it doesn't just happen like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go through life," and like you have to put intention to it. And it sounds like you guys were just so aligned. Like you knew you wanted a wife. She knew she wanted a husband, whether she saw it or not, and whatever. She knew she wanted it and not creating, broken homes and here and there for what? Like it just sounds
mhm.
so amazing that you all were aligned in that way as far as your value for that commitment.
And then now fast forwarding to answer your "how did we get married" question.
Yeah, that's a movie, right?
Um,
How, oh no, it was why did I get married? But how did you get married?
So I think, yeah, you could see some of the pictures behind me. Um,
Beautiful.
Actually, here, let's move the
Yes,
camera.
I see Davina.
So
Oh,
that's one of our pictures there.
wow.
That's we were actually in Miami. That was our first trip together to Miami. That's one of our wedding pictures there.
Wow. She,
And I hope you can see that there.
yes.
Um,
And there's one.
so
Okay. Oh,
and then
and you
over
have on shoes,
here,
right? Okay.
yep. So there's that. And then hold on.
Wow. Is that you
There we
guys
go.
are in the islands there?
Yes. So we eloped.
To
We
your home
eloped.
or where?
We actually went to Antigua, and that's where both of my parents are from.
Okay. Wow.
And for her, she's like, because there was a lot of things going on with both sides of our families. There was different just challenges all across the board. So everyone was looking forward to going to our wedding, friends and family, right? But then we started thinking about everyone else. Like, man, is this really the time to? Because we knew that we didn't want to get married in Jersey or New York,
Yeah.
but we want to do someplace nice. But then it's like, okay, to be what's going to be reasonable? We couldn't find a common ground. So one night, just out of the blue, she was, "What are your thoughts on eloping?" And at the time, I didn't know what it was. I was like, "What is that?"
Sticking with us. You are going to get part two when we dig deep, busting these myths, creating a healthier narrative. Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole.